And as we continue to celebrate Black History Month, we bring in Danielle Nottingham right now with another story of a path-breaking Georgian, this time a doctor, the first of his kind in Georgia.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I mean, he had this extraordinary career, but he is the state's first Black nephrologist. I had to look that up. I had never heard of that before, but he's basically deals in kidney health. And at the time when he got started, the specialty was little known and no one was really practicing it in the state of Georgia. So he broke a lot of ground there and in his life. And it's all inspired by him being sick as a child.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have brought us so many stories that touch on culture and history and the history that continues to be made, living history too, and the folks who came before. And you do such a good job of bringing so much life into these stories.
Thank you.
Can we listen in? Can we play this piece?
Here's our first photo of 1980 when we opened our clinic.
Dr. William Cleveland calls himself a son of Southwest Atlanta.
I attended Washington High School, which is still open, and Morehouse College, so I'm a native son.
He's Georgia's first Black nephrologist, helping shape kidney care in the specialty's earliest days. His introduction to medicine came as a child when he contracted polio. Denied hospital therapy due to segregation, his neighbors built him a heated pool and a massage space.
So we had a brick mason that lived in the neighborhood. We had a plumber that lived in the neighborhood. We had a carpenter that lived in the neighborhood. And they came over and put together our own treatment facility in my backyard.
That moment shaped Cleveland's commitment to giving back to the community that saved him, building clinics in underserved areas at a time when little to no doctors focused on kidney health and diseases for African Americans.
In 1980 and 1979, there were only 4 dialysis centers in all of Atlanta. Now there are around 100. So you can imagine that there was a great need.
The Atlanta City Council recognized his life's work with a proclamation last year, and the International Olympic Committee handpicked him as co-medical director of the 1996 Summer Games. Today, Southwest Atlanta Nephrology is one of the largest privately owned medical groups in the country, with 45,000 patients served and counting. Danielle Nottingham, 11 Alive News.
45,000 patients, Danielle.
50 years.
And boy, you talk about the arc of history in those 50 years.
Yeah.
He's still practicing. He is still helping to serve that nearly 50,000 people who need that treatment. When he started, his first real taste of the medical practice was when he had a real need with polio and people wouldn't treat him.
Yeah, I can't imagine living back then and not being able to get the treatment that you needed. The closest hospital was Tuskegee for him to go to, and his parents were educators and they didn't want to leave school. And so the neighbors got together and built this treatment facility in his backyard, and that's how he was able to recover, he said, about 6 months later.
So much of your report was remarkable, but that particular aspect of it, this community of neighbors, you say we had a bricklayer, we had a carpenter, we had folks in the neighborhood who had specific skills, and they all rallied around to help this one really sick kid. And he grew up to do all that. I know you mentioned in your piece, but did he talk a little more about how that early experience was a formative one for him?
Absolutely, because he wanted to give back to Southwest Atlanta, and this is how he was able to. There were so many aspects of his life we weren't able to include, but he was actually one of the first Black medical students at the University of Pittsburgh's medical school. So what happened was they were trying to integrate their program. They had no Black students. They picked a handful of students from Morehouse and sent them to Pittsburgh free tuition.
Wow.
So he went to medical school for free and then came back to Atlanta and did his residency at Emory. So he's got all of these like small little things, and he's like, oh yeah, and I was co-medical director at the Olympics. And I was like, wait, hold on. And he's like, yeah, we spent 8 years traveling the world to figure out. And we all know what happened at the 96 Olympic Games. And he was like, thank goodness no one was injured that they had to treat, but they were ready for.
On the Olympic team.
Yeah, the Olympic
Right.
team. I should say, thank you for correcting me there. But he was like, we were ready to go because they had studied all of these past Olympic Games.
And I mean, 8 years of preparation.
Yeah.
I wonder, and this has been a running theme in so many of the stories that you have brought us and others here at 11 Alive have reported, not just during Black History Month, but throughout the year. This is a man whose ability to access the full spectrum of his community increased dramatically in his lifetime. When he was a young man, because of the color of his skin and where he grew up, he couldn't. And now he is this leader, civic leader. It's not ancient history.
No, not at all. We're not very far removed from those times. So that's why I think it's outstanding how, he's able to persevere and overcome not being able to go to the hospital as a young boy. And then he was saying as he was coming up through his medical career, hospitals were segregated. They were starting to integrate. Some of the hospitals started to close. So there was a big hospital that served that part of town, Southwest Hospital. It closed. And so that's why he named his practice Southwest Nephrology.
After the hospital.
After the hospital that closed, yes, in the
Wow.
neighborhood. So it was a lot of different factors. And when you think about when he's saying 4 dialysis centers, could you imagine that in a city this large that has so many people who are dealing, hypertension, diabetes, things that relate to the kidneys, and you had 4. Now there's 100. So
And he always,
Yeah.
we're short on time here, but I think a point that's worth ending on here is that he always, it seems, kept coming back to home, to his community that raised him up and that rallied around him as a young man. He went off to Pitt and got his medical degree,
Yeah.
one of the very first black medical school graduates from Pitt. He could have gone anywhere, and he opted to come back here and create all that he created.
he said he's a son of Atlanta, the native son.
A native son who is now helping to treat more than 45,000 patients.
Yeah.
What a remarkable story. Danielle, thank you as always.